Fly ball, left field. It is back. It is gone. A 3-run go-ahead home run for Willie Thomas. What a shot in the arm for the Brew Crew.
I'd say it was a 3-run homer in the top of the ninth with 2 outs. The Royals were just a few strikes away from winning the ball game. James McArthur's second straight blown save in the ninth inning. We got to see the first one on Sunday. And closers go through spells from time to time. There's Royals fans, of course, immediately overreacting, saying that they need to pick somebody else to be the closer. That's awesome. Super, excellent, great idea. Tell me who. Because Will Smith's not the answer. And what, you want to go Schreiber as your closer? He's been really awesome in a setup role. I don't think you want to mess with that. MacArthur, every closer has situations where they struggle, okay? It happens from time to time. No need to give up on the guy. He hung a curveball and it got blasted. Got 2 outs. There was a double, a walk, a great at-bat to get the double, then a double, a walk, and a homer. Boom, boom, boom. Game basically over. Royals came back in the moment. I tried to win it. Couldn't. They lost, and Seth Lugo could have had his 6th win of the season. Didn't get it. He was fantastic again, and the Royals can't hang on, and they lose thanks to that 3-run homer off their closer, James MacArthur, and the Royals fall to the Brewers 6-5. So the rubber match is this afternoon at 1:10. Royals are 21-16, Brewers 21-14. Brady Singer on the hill, 2-1, ERA at 2.45. Matt Cutchero, manager of the Royals, on the tough loss last night in the ninth.
That one stings. I mean, we've done that to other people as well, and it's no fun when you're on that side of it. But, Contreras put up a really good at-bat. You think about all the things in that game tonight that were just literally the game of inches, whether that ball's fair or not, the ball off Renfroe's glove. There were plenty of other examples of things that just some went our way, some went theirs. But, Willie got a breaking ball, and he got it up in the air and hit it well.
So think about this. On Sunday, MacArthur gave up a home run to Jonah Heim that hit the foul pole. And if it's a foot to the right, it's foul, and the Royals probably win. And then last night, you get 2 outs, and then some luck doesn't go your way, as he mentioned. And so sometimes you get the luck, sometimes you don't. Welcome to the Sports Ticket, brought to you by Kiefer Brothers Automotive and below your home for fast, friendly auto repair. I really don't care about the Royals at all. All I'm cared about is the raffle. They're talking over $72,000 now for the raffle. Tonight is when they announce it. Why would I care? Because I was at the Royals game on Sunday with our whole crew on the Royals bus trip, and I went ahead and donated to the educational cause that they're raising money for so that I could win the jackpot. And so $72,000, and you get half of it. So that'd be $36,000. That'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, they'll hit you. Uncle Sam will somehow find out that you made that money,
sure.
And then they'll take another 28 out of the 36, and you'll be left with 8. But whatever it is, taxes are high. That might be a little bit exaggeration, but maybe we're getting to that point at some point. But the raffle is what I'm really worried about. That's coming up later tonight. Local sports, Dusty.
Yeah, activity on Tuesday. The Bullet softball team finished out their regular season with a couple wins, a sweep of Sacred Heart, 12-2 in 5 innings in Game 1, 15-0 in 3 in the second game, as the Lady Trojans finished the regular season 14-7 and 8-2 in the North Central Activities Association. Also in golf, the NCAA League meet. Sacred Heart took first place as a team. Southeast was second, Beloit third. Dylan Esch of Southeast Saline finished in first place at 2 over. Southeast and Sacred Heart actually took the top 11 spots in the meet there yesterday. Jennings Sloan of Beloit finished in 12th to round out from the area there. In at Belleville, Republic County hosted the NCAA League meet yesterday. Tipton Invitational, Lakeside taking first place yet again as a team with a score of 306 ahead of St. John's in second at 335. Chris LaRocque of St. John's did take the individual gold medal at 71 on the day. Jace Cunningham of Lakeside 1 stroke behind, 72 in second place. Ian Christine of Lakeside finished third. Ethan Worth from Rock Hills was fourth, and Elijah Field from Pike Valley was fifth place there at Tipton. And then also the Mel Schrimmer Invitational at Phillipsburg. Norton first place as a team. Eli Jones of Norton was a first place individual. Dawson Lance of Osborne finished in fifth, and Dylan Tassell from Smith Center finished seventh there yesterday in Phillipsburg. So that's a wrap of area athletes that were competing on Tuesday. And if you missed any of the results or you want the full golf results, you can find them all posted at ncksports.com.
So today is the final day of school for my senior son, who's still not 18. That's right. He won't be 18 till this summer, which means that when people turn 21, he'll be the last one to turn 21. He's the youngest in his class. I remember going all the way back we're like, well, he could go to school. We could hold him back a year, and then he could go a little bit older because he was a July birthday. And I was like, yeah, he's smart enough to handle it. And he's handled it just fine. He's done great. Now, he's the youngin' of the class, but nobody really thinks of him that way. And so anyway, today is their last day of school. And I say last day of school. Really, yesterday was the last day of school. Today is all about going through rehearsals, wearing your gowns, going to elementary school, so forth and so on. They had a breakfast, and they had some pictures and whatever else. So basically, his last day was yesterday. His last assignment, he said, is done and in the books yesterday, and it went well. And so he will no longer have to get up early to go to high school classes. That is over. That part of his life is over. Now, does he have to get up early for a morning college class? He don't have to. He won't be yelled at from mom and dad. Get up, let's go, you're running late. It'll be all on him. And do you remember the last day of high school? Because I don't.
I actually do. It was a similar thing, right? We did the whole... We didn't go to like the other school and parade through it or anything, but we did a rehearsal type thing. We got out at like noon. The reason I remember the last day of high school is because we got out at noon, and when you're done, everybody just kind of, if you pick
drive around,
you drive around and you pick some friends to go hang out with at one of their garages or one of their places, right? And so I was driving around with my friend Doug. And he decided to take his pickup into a very muddy road just outside of Waukene. And we slid off the road and he ran into a light pole. Oh. So nice. I think that's why I remember the day more, because of what happened after we were done with school, or else I wouldn't even remember what happened when we went to school that day probably. And then we hung out at your friend Darren at his brother's with his brother Mark. We hung out in his garage for like a few hours afterward, just BS and not really doing anything.
I don't remember my last day in high school. I think I remember getting out early the final day. I will tell you, I do not recall getting out a week prior to everybody else.
I don't know if it was a week, but it was at least a few days prior than everybody
maybe a
else.
Few days, but not a full week.
I did. I'm not 100% sure how many actual days it was, but
I'm 99.9% sure that we weren't off a week before everybody else, because it's when I think it was even, I don't know when it dawned on me. It seemed more so when I got here, when, of course, we did the senior salutes and graduation tags, long time ago, started those up. And it's like graduation day, such and such, last day of school, such and such, and everybody else still goes for another week. I'm like, you got out a week early? Like, immediate reaction was, I never got to do that. So I'm guessing that I never got to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a day or two ahead, but I do vaguely remember that we might have got out a little bit early on the final day. And so now you're like, all right, I got my summer. I'm going to have a good time with my buddies, or I'm going to get prepared for college, or I'm going to work and make a lot of money during the summer, or who knows what people are going to do. Or if you're well off and you inherited everything and mom and dad buys you everything, then you don't have to work. You can sit on the couch and play video games all summer long, and then maybe you're going to college, maybe you're not. But anyway, we've had those senior salutes running for all the area schools. Wish everybody the best of luck in their future endeavors. But it's going to be weird, next year not having our oldest in the house. But a lot of people have gone through that. People say, you think it's weird now, wait till it's your final one. And then all of a sudden there's no kids in the house. And so after all those years you complain and bellyache about, you're too loud, quit running around, quit throwing stuff in the house, and, yelling at the kids for this or that, or need them to do this or that, or we got to hurry, we're running late for the ball game, or running late for a concert, or whatever the case may be. And we all kind of, I think we all are guilty of complaining a little bit about it, or stressing about it, and so forth and so on. And then I've talked to some people that are empty nesters and like, it's kind of nice there for a while. And then after a while, you're like, I kind of miss those days a little bit. So anyway, we still got 2 in the hen house, but one rooster is heading out. So that's how our life is going right now.
Yep.
Let's see. After an offseason, it's already been rough for Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. Reports are out that he is now a suspect in an alleged assault that injured a man at a Dallas nightclub earlier this week. Dallas Morning News reported that officers were dispatched to the nightclub early Monday morning after a man was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. As of yesterday, no charges have been filed against Rice or anyone else. The Chiefs and Rice's attorney have not commented on the latest incident. I want to talk about this for a moment because, listen, this is where people pile on because they don't have much of a life. I'm just going to be flat out blunt with people here. And if it happens to be you that I'm talking about, then I'm so sorry. But it's and the media is part of this. All right, the media guys, they joke about it, and it's okay to joke about it. I'm not saying that you can't joke about it, but now people are making him out to be some serial offender here. Like, no, he's not. He's not Steve Howe, who's violated the drug substance policy in baseball 7 times and still gets to come back and play baseball. All right, Rashee Rice. We already documented this, talked about how he made a big mistake as a young man racing in Fort Worth. Lucky nobody was killed. Some people were hurt. He's probably going to deal with some kind of civil lawsuit, so forth and so on. Okay, he made a mistake. Then he fled from the scene, which was mistake number 2. Okay, he can learn from that, and he's lucky he didn't kill anybody. Okay, and I've made no excuses for him when it comes to that. You haven't either. In this one here, if he didn't have the racing thing, this would be nothing. Honestly, I think it would be hardly anything. Here's why. Let's go through the details that we have as of now. He was at a nightclub. Has there ever been a fight at a nightclub before? Was this the first one ever?
I think it was the first one.
Was it the first one ever? Really?
Absolutely not. It wasn't the first one.
No. So, an alleged assault. He injured a man at a Dallas nightclub. And so, officer dispatched the nightclub. Man was taken to hospital, non-life-threatening injuries. No charges have been filed, and yet people are freaking out. Okay, first of all, Rashee Rice doesn't need to be locked up if he's found guilty of a crime, yes, he does. But he doesn't need to be locked in his house where he's not allowed to go anywhere because he's always getting in trouble. Now, he has 2 instances where he's gotten into some kind of altercation. The second one, this one, is the only altercation. The other one was he was racing with a friend of his with leased vehicles and so forth that were in his name. But if you just put aside the racing thing, which is a complete separate incident, okay, and let that play out, and I think Rashee Rice will be suspended at some point for some part of next season, which, once again, isn't the bigger issue. The bigger issue are those people that were hurt in that accident that he caused, along with his buddy from SMU. Hopefully those people are healed up and there's not horrible trauma they got to deal with for the rest of their lives. That's most important. But in regards to this incident, this happens a lot. And I'm not sitting here telling you that it's okay to assault anybody. I'm not saying that at all. But for people to just jump to conclusions is ridiculous. Like, let's say that Dusty and I go to Down Under, all right? We go to the bar over in Beloit. We go to Down Under, and then the report comes out the next day that Dusty is a suspect in an alleged assault that injured a man, and that person had to go to the hospital, but non-life-threatening injuries. Okay. My first thought would be probably was a fight. Something really had to upset Dusty, and that would take quite something to get Dusty all fired up to do something. But my first thought would be, I don't think Dusty just went up and punched somebody and knocked him out cold. Gonna say there's some kind of disagreement, sure. Probably something mean that was said. There was an argument. Somebody offended somebody. Who knows what happened? I would imagine drinking was involved. This applies just to my hypothetical situation. It applies to situation that I was in when I was in college, and I'm sure it applies to this situation as well. Now, don't know the details. Was Rashee Rice the instigator, and he was a bully, and him as an entourage were hitting on this guy's girlfriend, and then he stood up for his girlfriend, and then Rice punched him in the face, and that sent him to the hospital? If that's the case, that's Rashee Rice, man. But maybe it could be that this guy was bothering them all night long, or this guy was hitting on Rashee Rice's girlfriend, or maybe was actually trying to get into something on purpose because he knew who he was, Rashee Rice, trying to provoke him and cause Rice to eventually, you're still in control of your actions, but get mad enough to hit this man. We don't know if he piled on and beat the crap out of this guy. We don't know if it was one punch. We don't know if it was, a slap, a kick. We don't know these details. At least I haven't read them yet. So, once again, let's not jump to conclusions. He has not been charged with anything yet. It could very well just simply be one of those, hey, it was at a nightclub. Both parties were drinking more than they probably should have. Not thinking clearly. Got into an altercation. Maybe some punches were thrown. One landed. And now the guy's, turned it into the cops and was all mad because he got hit. And maybe he deserved it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he's innocent. Maybe he's guilty. Maybe Rice is innocent and he defended himself. Maybe he's guilty and started it all. I don't know. But this is a separate incident. It's a separate incident. And so people lump it into, he's a big-time troublemaker. He hasn't had any issues prior to the racing thing. And there have been many athletes and celebrities that have raced and done what he did. They're just lucky enough they didn't cause a wreck and hurt somebody. And luckily for him, didn't kill anybody. That doesn't mean what Rashee Rice did was right in racing in Fort Worth, Texas at 6:20 in the evening, or whatever it was, with his buddy. Not condoning it, not saying he should have been doing that. But that's a separate situation. This is different. And if we come to find out that it was this other guy that started all of it, that this other guy eventually pushed Rashee Rice's buttons, and no charges are actually filed, charges are dropped, whatever the case may be, then this is a whole bunch to do about nothing. Some people act like this is the first time there's been some kind of altercation at a nightclub. No, it happens every single night in America. I mean, it happened at Pittsburgh State. Every night I went out to the bars, which I went out a few times, there was almost always some altercation. There was a shove, a push. I remember time outside of McCarthy's, it went out in the street, and everybody got in a circle, and we watched two guys going at it. And it was kind of interesting to watch. At the same time, it was kind of sad, in my opinion, because I'm like, what are they fighting about? Something stupid because they drank too much. Okay? I remember I was at a bar in Pittsburgh called Shooters. I don't even know if it's open anymore because I'm old and that was a long time ago. And I remember I went over to talk to a girl that I knew from a class I had. I didn't know her that well. I was single, and I just went over and I was talking with her. I don't know if I was really flirting with her. I think I was just talking with her. Maybe I was flirting with her, whatever. And this big old guy comes over and gets in my face and tells me I can't talk to her. And I'm like, well, shouldn't that be her choice whether she talks to me or not? And it wasn't her boyfriend. So I'm sitting there. I had a couple cocktails, and I'm sitting like, you should let her decide whether she wants to talk to me. Are you her dad? I probably said a few things I probably shouldn't have said. And this guy gets in my face, and I wasn't backing down. And it's stupid because I didn't even know the gal, so why am I defending her? I didn't really know her well, but I don't like when people tell me what I'm supposed to do or not do, especially when it's none of that guy's business. But apparently he knew her too, so he thought it was his business. I don't know if he was her personal bodyguard or what. So he comes over and sticks his chest out, and he's like twice as tall as me, so he's huge. He comes in, but I'm not going to be a wimp. So of course pride kicks in, ego kicks in, and I had a couple drinks, so I'm not backing down. I'm not backing up. I'm standing tall. Now, am I ready to throw down? I'm not really wanting to, but I'm not backing away or running with my tail between my legs. And then my good buddies, who I went to the bar with, come over and they slowly just pull me away from anything to escalate. Okay? And this guy called me some names, said some things. And of course, since he was bigger than me, I wasn't going to throw a first punch or anything like that. I was able to control my emotions enough, but I also had to be manly enough to, not show that I was chicken, right? Okay, that happens all the time. Now, what's funny was 2 weeks later, saw this exact same guy. He's at McCarthy's. Is the place we always like to go to, the Irish pub in Pittsburgh. And he is the bouncer at McCarthy's that night. I walk in. He's checking IDs to let people in at first, and then he ends up bouncing the rest of the night. And I look right at his eyes, and he checks my ID, and I'm like, oh, crap. This guy's not going to let me in. Guess what? He didn't even remember me. Yeah. He was so inebriated, and he was an idiot because he drank way too much, but he was actually starting something that wasn't necessary. It wasn't his girlfriend. It was just somebody he knew. He decided he apparently didn't like the way I looked. I don't know. He wanted to be macho, show up for his friends. He wasn't thinking clearly. He had too much to drink. He comes in and gets in my face, telling me that I can't talk to a gal that wasn't his girlfriend. Even if it's his girlfriend, why can't I talk to her? Whatever, but I get it. But it wasn't. And then find out later on, he was so inebriated, he didn't even remember me and let me into the bar a week or two later. But that's how stuff can get going. Like, what would have happened if I threw a punch? Guess what would have happened? We would have had a big brouhaha, and I probably would have got my ass kicked. I ain't going to lie. I would have my friends, I think, would have had my back. I had some good friends at that time there in college that would have had my back. And they might have got beat up too. I don't know. But it could have escalated had I been stupid. If this guy had been stupider, or it went longer, or if my buddies didn't go pull me away from the conversation we were having, then that could have escalated. That can happen. It happens every night in America, at nightclubs, dance clubs, whatever. Now, sometimes what happens now is it gets so out of hand, people pull guns out, shootings, stabbings. Things are way worse than just two guys, snurping at each other, and then one walks away and the other just turns around and then, doesn't remember anything the next morning. But what I'm trying to tell you by sharing that story is that it can happen to anybody if you're in a situation. You don't have to be drinking for it to happen. You yourself don't have to be drinking. You could be there just hanging out with your buddies, having a water. You could be a recovering, I don't know if you'd want to be in a bar as a recovering alcoholic, but whatever. Maybe you're sober for 20 years and you went out and you're the DD and you're cool with it. And then this guy who's all inebriated gets in your face. Whether you're sober or intoxicated, if somebody gets in your face, you tend to do what? You defend yourself, right? You don't just run away yelling, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, he's being mean to me." That's not how that works. So I don't know what happened in this situation. I truly don't. A lot of people don't. But I think it is just so indigenous that people immediately just start labeling Rashee Rice as a malcontent, who's a criminal, who has all kinds of problems. And maybe he does. Maybe he's going to have 5 more situations this offseason. I have no idea. But when I look at this one, I'm not too concerned about it. But boy, everybody else is freaking out. And it's because he had the racing thing recently, so that's what makes everybody freak out about it.
Absolutely it is. And when you
But they're 2 separate situations.
And I totally understand that, but it's still a situation that's there, and that's why people are freaking out about it. I'm not like.
But why are people freaking out about it? Because they're Chiefs fans worried he's not going to play football.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reason. There's no question. That's the reason they were freaking out the first time with the racing thing.
But see, this is the thing I'm starting to understand as I get older. Okay, and they say you get wiser when you get older. I hope so. And this is the thing. Why do you freak out? Like, I understand talking about it. I get it. Talk about Rashee Rice getting in trouble. And you can talk with your buddies and say, man, Rice is going down the wrong path here. What's going on with Rashee Rice? I get that. But the freaking out part, to me, is just stupid. And that's how people are. People freak out about everything, and it doesn't even impact your life. I mean, for the love of God, have you ever met Rashee Rice? Have you met the person that was allegedly assaulted? Have you met the people that were involved in the car wreck in Fort Worth, Texas? Have you ever met Rashee Rice? Do you even know what his middle name is? Do you know what college he went to? Do you know where he was born? Do you know his birthday? Do you know his social security number? All you know is he plays for the Chiefs, and you might know he's a wide receiver. Some people don't even know that, and they're all freaking out. It doesn't impact your life. It doesn't impact your life. It truly does not affect your life unless you were the one assaulted or you were one involved in all those cars that caused a scary situation when he was racing. And I know that that's what people do. I get it. People freak out over all kinds of stuff. I understand freaking out about stuff that impacts you. Like, I understand people freaking out if their taxes are going to go up, okay? I understand people freaking out when they hear that they flew to a destination, but now all the flights have been grounded and I can't get back home. I understand that. That impacts you personally. Okay? I understand freaking out and being mad or riled up about certain things. But is it really worth getting all riled up because he got into an alleged, let me stress this again, alleged is a key word that everybody overlooks. An alleged assault. I understand why we're talking about it, because he's a Chiefs player. If he was Joe Schmo, nobody'd care. We wouldn't even be talking about it. And we wouldn't even be talking about it as much, except that he had the prior situation with the racing in Fort Worth. Could it be just coincidence he's gotten into 2 things, and unfortunately the one was totally his fault, and this one maybe isn't? It's possible. But people are immediately labeling him as guilty, as charged, because he chose to street race, okay, on the interstate in Fort Worth, Texas. And I tried to tell my oldest son now, who's going to college, and he still needs to understand this, and this happened years ago, but I said when he kind of got in trouble a couple times in school when he was younger, and we all go through phases, right? We learn some things. And I told him, I said, listen, if you start to get a reputation in your school or getting in trouble, now, he was like 10 or 11 at the time. I mean, he's still learning. It wasn't anything major. But I said, if you end up being completely innocent and you didn't do anything and somebody accuses you of something and that person's never been in trouble and you've been in trouble a couple times and been in the principal's office, you know who those people are going to believe? They're not going to believe you because they are assuming you're the bad person because you had a prior record. When I say 10 or 11-year-old kid, a prior record of being in the principal's office, and the other kid is just 1,000% goody two-shoes and knows that they can get away with it because they know you created your little history. And so I tried to get that to my son. My wife and I had this conversation many years ago saying, hey, now listen, you just made a mistake. It's no big deal. Nobody got hurt over the thing. It's a little deal, but it was big enough for it to, you had to go talk to the principal, okay? But if you keep doing these little things, then people will never believe you when you're being honest. It's kind of like the boy that cried wolf, right? Remember that story? Mm-hmm. Where you cry wolf and there's never a wolf, and then the fourth time you say wolf and there is actually a wolf, and nobody listens to you because you lied the first 3 times. Why are they going to trust you the fourth time? They're going to trust the other person that's never lied to them before. And that's what happens in life. You trust people that are honest with you. People that lie to you, if they lie to you one time, but it's a big, big thing, you're not going to trust them for a very long time. And it's going to take a long time to regain that trust. So you're going to tend to believe this person didn't lie to you and not the person that did lie to you. But it could actually be that the person that lied to you the first time is being honest this time. And the person you think is so great, for the first time, they're lying to you. But guess which way you've already judged it, predetermined it. You predetermined it based off the history. This is what people are doing with Rashee Rice.
I want to point out a few things here because I completely agree with you on a point of this is a separate incident and this has not been worked out yet. This is lying in the weeds right now because there's not been any charges. We don't know if there's going to be any charges, and if there's not, then this really doesn't mean anything. If he's not charged with anything, how can it mean anything, right?
Right.
But. And I'm not on the freak out side of things. Don't get me wrong. Like, when you see this, though, for my thing with Rashee Rice right now, and people, that's fandom, right? The people that are freaking out are those kind of fans, right?
Sure.
They're the fanatical fans.
Which freak out over everything.
And so they're going to do that.
We didn't get the first down and we were robbed. The officials didn't get us. The game is rigged. Freak out over everything. I'm
not a freak out fan when I say what I'm about to say. I'm just, and I'm not a freak out fan that thinks that we need Rashee Rice to have success and that our Super Bowl chances hinge on whether Rashee Rice is going to be on this team or not, because they don't.
Right.
Here's my thing about the whole situation, though. You can go a lot of different ways with this, but if you project and something actually does happen here, then this is obviously going to be a bigger problem for Rashee Rice. I think the reason that there's more of a freak out from some of those people and there's more of a me analyzing this than maybe I would on a regular bar fight is this guy doesn't have a great look from what happened with the race, right? Like,
right.
If he stays there and takes his punishment right away, this guy fled. This guy left the scene of the accident. This guy was in contact with the officials and authorities, but never actually turned himself in for days until they finally actually arrested him because he did what he was supposed to do. And so he's got the reputation right now of a guy that's not doing the right things, and a guy that's trying to evade maybe some of this at times. And if he just stays there and deals with what the consequences of his actions, I think his image is going to look a lot better even with this thing right now. That's in my mind. So when I move forward with this, though, is I agree with you that this is just another incident. But and like you say, if the racing thing's not there, nobody's really probably caring about this. The racing thing is there, and the way that he did and went about things after the race is still there. And so I'm not saying that for me or you or the fans. I'm saying that for if he does actually get charged and not convicted or take a plea, whatever that is, that will be more games added on to his list by the NFL with their personal conduct policy. And so that's more when I see this in my mind, it's like, guy's got to stay out of trouble. I don't know how that happens, and I know that he still wants to live his life and go do these things. He's still young, and he's probably still learning a lot of things, but at some point you got to keep yourself away from being in those situations where that could happen. And I'm not saying that, again, that he can't go out and enjoy his life, because he should be able to do that. But if this does turn into something, it will be a bigger issue for Rashee Rice and the Chiefs from the NFL.
Sure.
From the personal conduct policy, whether he is convicted of anything or not. If he's charged, then that's going to be another strike that'll go against that. And so it's like he's got enough counts against him right now. that are on those charges that he's already gotten. And so that's where you can't avoid what has happened before, is with the NFL personal conduct thing.
Right, and that's a separate issue. We're talking about the NFL conduct policy in regards to, people freaking out.
But it goes into but it does go into the reason people are freaking out is because he's going to miss games and he's not going to be able to play, and that's where the freak out comes from, is that they're not going to have him.
Yeah, but the other thing too, I'll disagree with one thing you said. You acted like everybody was going to forgive him because he would have been up front and didn't flee the scene. I disagree with you. I don't think there's
no, I'm saying that adds to his strikes. I'm not saying they would have forgiven it.
But what I'm saying is you're basically saying that if he would have been there and didn't flee the scene, it would have helped him.
There's more lenience, I think, from people.
with the court system.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
But with the fans, I don't think it
well,
would.
fans,
that's what we're talking about. Here,
but what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is
they're not going to sit here and go, well, you know what? I'll give him a pass because he didn't run away from the incident.
But that's what I'm saying.
He caused the whole thing. It was his fault. It was his mistake. So now, like you said, he doubled down.
Yeah.
He fled the scene. But what I'm saying is, you were saying, well, if you would have done this, then it would have been better. It's like, well, yeah, technically it would have been better. But I don't think from a fan's perspective, you're going to sit here and go, well, I'll just go ahead and, yeah, it's all good that Rice did that because you know what? He didn't flee the scene. I don't think fans really think that way.
I'm not talking about the direct reaction to what happens. My fan freakout thing is because what we're talking about is if things keep piling up and adding up, he's going to miss games. And that's what fans are freaking out about. They're not freaking out about what he did.
Right.
They're freaking about, like you said, they want him to play. They want him to be on the team. All these things are adding up against him.
All I'm saying is the fleeing part is not really much of the equation here because fans already, there's one instant without him fleeing or not.
The fleeing part is part of the equation with his conduct that could make him miss more games, which is why fans are freaking out because he's going to miss games.
But the fans don't look at it that way. The fans don't look at it and go, he fled the scene.
Not at the moment,
they look at the whole thing in totality. What they look at is he was racing. He shouldn't have been racing. He almost killed somebody. He's going to get suspended. Oh, my God, how many games? And then they're not. And then I think people forget the whole fleeing part anyway because it's a small part of the equation. In regards to the criminal part, it is a big part of the equation because I don't think you have much leniency when you flee the scene. But from a fan's perspective, you're already focusing on the race that he did, that he shouldn't have been doing. Then you're saying, okay, he's going to get suspended. Then you look at this and you go, oh, well, this is going to make it even longer because it's a second offense. Like, I don't think the NFL is looking at it as he has 3 offenses. He has one offense, that was the racing incident. And his second offense would be this one, allegedly. The NFL, I don't think, sit here and goes, well, he fled the scene, so we're going to tack on 4 more games. I don't think the NFL looks at it like that at all. I think the NFL is going, listen, he made a mistake. He compounded a mistake, which, young people would, if you make a mistake, you don't really want to admit to it right away. What do you usually do? I mean, come on. When you're in, I was cleaning out my garage, and we remembered a memory where I have a 7 and 8-year-old kid at the time, a neighbor kid and my youngest, that broke a flower pot and didn't tell us and shoved it behind the entertainment receiver stand in the garage, and I just found it. I knew it was there, by the way, but they hid it. Mm-hmm. Now, am I even more mad they broke the flower pot and hit it? Not really much more mad about it because I'm more about you didn't tell us that you did it. I don't really care so much that you hid it behind there because the whole thing is a lie. You're covering up something all the way around. So I'm not going to punish you even more because not only did you not tell us about it, but then you also hid the evidence. So that's just my point. But that's kind of a small piece of the puzzle anyway. The point is that Rashee Rice is in a second instant. We can all agree on that. Whether or not it was his fault, whether it's just one of those people, like somebody put in a message, it could have been somebody trying to get pictures, shoving a camera in his face, and he just went whoop and warned him multiple times and whopped him right in the face. And the camera hurt the person. And once again, I'm not trying to make excuse for Rashee Rice because he could have actually been the bad guy in this whole thing and created it all. All I'm saying is we just, in this society, listen, society sucks, okay? I'm just going to say it. Society today that we live in sucks because we do not allow anything to take place to allow us to get the truth. We don't. We just immediately go, well, Rashee Rice is a horrible person. Or immediately, oh my God, he's suspended 10 games. And you just immediately overreact and freak out about every single damn thing. It's like, chill out. Relax. Okay? The Chiefs won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. Why in the hell do you think they can't win without Rashee Rice? You're not a very intelligent fan if you're freaking out thinking the Chiefs won't win a three-peat because Rashee Rice won't be on the team. Do you follow the team? They picked up Hollywood Brown. They drafted a receiver they love. They could still go get a Hunter Renfrow or somebody in free agency who was let go. Renfrow would be a perfect guy. I've been talking about this for a while. He played for the Raiders. There's not one guy that makes this team not win a championship except for a 2 or 3. Okay? Kelsey, Mahomes, and probably Chris Jones. Can you afford to lose any other guy on the team and still win a Super Bowl? Hell yeah. You can lose a corner. You can lose a line. You can lose. Jesus, we saw last year they lost Willie Gay and didn't play a lot in the postseason. They still won. They lost Nick Bolton for a period of time in the regular season. They still won. Those are 2 outstanding linebackers. Brian Cook, their starting safety, didn't even play in the postseason. They still won. Jerry McKinnon didn't play in the postseason until the Super Bowl for a few plays. They still won. Isaiah Pacheco got hurt, missed the game. They still won. Hell, they even won 1 of 2 games when Mahomes didn't even play. They can even win without Mahomes. They lost by 1 point without Kelsey, the one game that he missed. But the thing I'm trying to get across to people is if this is Patrick Mahomes, I understand the freak out big time. If this is Travis Kelsey, I understand the freak out. If it's Chris Jones, I understand the freak out. Rashee Rice didn't even have 1,000 yards receiving last year. I mean, he came on late. He was a really nice talent. And some of you people that are all up in arms about Rashee Rice were also saying that he shouldn't play as much because he had some drops early in the year. I mean, he came on. He's a nice player. But can the Chiefs win without Rashee Rice? Yes. If you can win without Tyreek Hill, and you can win without Rashee Rice. Let's not sit here and I mean, just understand, first of all, we haven't even got the training camp yet. We don't even know the moves the Chiefs they still can make more moves. Mm-hmm. If Rashee Rice is suspended, I don't know how the contract works and the pay. They might have a little bit more money to go get somebody. I don't know how all that works. I don't have time to research it and do all the details. But Rashee Rice is a talented player. Would you rather have him be playing all 17 games next year? Of course you would, but that's true of anybody. But you know what? You can get hurt for 6 games. Charles Omenihu was suspended for 6 games to start last year. Did the Chiefs just fall apart without him? No. Was he nice to have back and then he played pretty well? Sure. Absolutely. Chris Jones, getting him back, that obviously helps you. Having Rashee Rice, does it make things easier? Yeah, it does. You lost your left guard who's a Pro Bowler. Rashee Rice is not a Pro Bowler. You lost a left guard, Joe Tourney, a Pro Bowler, didn't play in the Super Bowl. How'd that Super Bowl turn out? Chiefs won, despite not having a Pro Bowl left guard. Oh my God, how did they do it? It's a miracle. No, it's not. They've done this year after year, season after season, because they have a great coach, they have a great organization, they have a great GM, they have an outstanding quarterback, and they have an outstanding tight end, and they have a defensive star in Chris Jones, and they piece it around those guys. It is no coincidence that this offseason, Andy Reid got a big contract extension. Patrick Mahomes has his contract reworked, and they're going to take dang care of him all the time. He gets more money up front, also helps on the cap. No coincidence they just gave Travis Kelsey his bag of money, and it's no coincidence they give Chris Jones his bag of money. You know why they gave all those guys that much money? And why those are the only ones they give a whole bunch of money to and took care of with extensions? Because they are the most important pieces of the puzzle. Okay? They're piece 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can't see the picture of what the puzzle is without those pieces. They're like the core pieces of the puzzle. Rashee Rice is a peripheral piece. I don't see part of the tree in the background, but I see the whole forest. I know it's a forest. Mm-hmm. Okay? The big sequoia in the middle, we're missing four pieces. Oh, my God. Well, yeah, we got a chance of knowing what that really is. Rashee Rice is a nice piece to the puzzle. Okay? But the Chiefs will be just fine if he plays 17 games next year, 2 games next year, 8 games next year, or he gets suspended for life. We're freaking out about a guy that had 8 good games. And that's about what he did. Half the season, and I liked him, and we kept saying they need to throw him the ball more. He needs to be involved more. Well, he had to learn the system. It takes some time. Now, Carrington Harrison put this out here. I don't know where he got this, so I'm hesitant to post this because I don't know where he got it. But it's labeled Scout's Nightmare, and this is supposedly one scout's take on Rashee Rice before the draft a couple years ago. Once again, I don't know if this is legitimate and where it's from. I would assume it's legitimate. I don't think Carrington put something out there like this. but it doesn't show who it's from. But the pre-draft from one scout came with Rashee Rice, the breakdown, has the size, speed, athletic ability, and production to be a high draft choice. At least one team, not all the NFL, at least one team, however, has removed him from its draft board because of behavioral issues. He's talented, but not a good dude, one personnel director said. Now, my question to Carrington Harrison is, why are you posting it now? That's been out there. I'm sure he's had it for a while. Maybe he just acquired this information. But usually people can find these things out fairly quickly. It's convenient that Carrington throws it out there now instead of, I don't know, the day after they drafted him. And maybe he did and I missed it. Listen, Tyreek Hill was a 5th-round draft pick. There were tons of teams that avoided Tyreek Hill because of what he allegedly did or was involved with, okay, and got kicked out basically Oklahoma State, okay? I'm not going to go on to all that again. The Chiefs knew he was a risk, but they thought he was worth the risk. The Chiefs have drafted very well. Brett Veach has. They have been in need of wide receivers. Sky Moore has not gotten in trouble with anybody. He's not been involved in alleged assaults or street racing, but we all pile on him because he's a bust. Well, but he's a better person. I don't care. Fans act like they care about whether people are good or not. They don't. Fans don't care. You know, Mike Schrant, when he was living here, you and me in the studio had this big-time argument. And you and I were in agreement, and Mike was in the minority. And he was acting like fans cared what the players did off the field. And we said the only time the fans care what the players do off the field typically is if they are not available to play. Then they care. And that's what this is. Nobody cares about Rashee Rice personally. Nobody, in regards to the fans of the Chiefs Kingdom. Nobody cares. No, I don't see Chiefs fans coming out and showing sympathy and saying, oh my gosh, this guy needs to get some help. Nope. They're just piling on. Because you're piling on and you're freaking out because it hurts your team and you're a fanatic. You don't care Larry Johnson's, beating up his girlfriend because he grows out and runs for almost 2,000 yards one season. You don't care about Derek Thomas, okay, who was an amazing athlete. And I can tell you people that knew Derek Thomas because I was in Kansas City for part of that time. I had a client that owned a bar in Westport who told me all kinds of stories about Derek Thomas, about how he was frequently there, and he drank a lot. And you could even say that some people have even claimed he was an alcoholic. I don't know if he's an alcoholic, but I know he liked to have a good time. And nobody cared because he would go sack the quarterback. Nebraska fans didn't really care too much. Lawrence Phillips drug his girlfriend by the hair downstairs. I mean, some people might have cared and didn't like the look of it, but you know what they're more worried about? Oh my God, is he going to play in the bowl game?
Playing in the Fiesta Bowl.
This is what fans do. We act like we care. No, we truly don't care about the people involved. All we care about is, will that person play? So you can have, Rashee Rice seems like a really nice dude. Well, yeah, he's talking to cameras and media people. We don't know if he's a nice dude or if he's a horrible dude. He could be putting on a fake act. Some guys are genuine on camera. Some people are not. I've been told that Jacques Vaughn is not an easy guy to get along with, but on camera, he seemed really great. Some people are really good behind a microphone or in front of a camera, and you turn off the lights and you go out and meet them in regular, and they're not. I've heard Gus Johnson's an interesting person, a play-by-play announcer that's amazing energy, and you're like, man, that's a guy I want to have a beer with, and I hear he's a very unique personality. I'm not saying he's a horrible person, but he's not what you think he is what I've read and heard from other people. I mean, it doesn't mean Gus Johnson's a bad guy. It's just that he's not what you think he is. And we act like we know these people, right? We see them on TV. We listen to them on the radio. We read their articles in the paper. We watch them play on a court. But we have no idea. We have no idea. Some players are absolute mean SOBs on the floor or on the field. Nicest people off of it. And some people can be just absolutely bad people. And so I don't know if Rashee Rice is a bad person, if he's a bad dude, as this scout report says. But I will say that for me, I think it's only right that we let it play out, and which honestly you don't have a choice. You do have to technically let it play out. But we act like Rashee Rice is Tyreek Hill. And I understand, and once again, I understand people freaking out when Tyreek Hill was traded. This, to me, is way over the top. Like, I understand Tyreek Hill getting traded because it was a big shocker and surprise. And you're like, how can you get rid of this great guy? And then guess what? We tried to tell you as soon as the trade happened on this very show, they'll be fine. And I'm telling you on this very show, if Rashee Rice doesn't play another down for the Kansas City Chiefs, whether he plays 17 games next year or whether he gets suspended for the first 4, 6, 8, whatever it is, I'm telling you, mark my words, write them down, and as Charles Barkley says on NBA Today, I guarantee it, the Chiefs will be fine. The Chiefs will be fine. They adapt. They will adjust. It's just like when you have a guy that plays left guard that's a Pro Bowler that gets hurt. You have depth. You have another guy to step in. The Chiefs have a little more depth of receiver than they did last year in regards to they got Hollywood Brown. All right, they drafted Xavier Worthy. Now, are they still a little bit young at wide receiver? I still think they might pick up a guy like a Hunter Renfrow to add to the equation. But many people think their wide receiver room is better now than it was last year. Whether that's true or not, don't know. We'll find out. But the way some people are acting, it's like Rashee Rice is a 10-time Pro Bowl Hall of Famer. They're actually acting like he's Travis Kelce. He's nothing close to that.
No, and we are in 100% agreement on that part of this. I think we both understand that if Rashee Rice misses 10 games, like you said, if he's not part of this team next year, so be it. It is what it is.
Well, right? We can't change it anyway.
They move forward with Hollywood Brown. They move forward with everybody else they've got.
Xavier Worthy has a bigger role. Sky Moore has to play more. Kadarius Toney declined his 5th-year option, but he's still under contract this year. I mean, they've got plenty of guys that have potential and are athletic and can do this, and that. Justin Watson. I mean, they got guys.
And I've been on this ride since, because you're gone the day of the draft, so I kind of previewed that, and I said that day, I was like, dude, if you're drafting a wide receiver just because you don't have Rashee Rice coming into next season, you're doing the wrong thing. That's not why you draft a wide receiver. Now, if you draft a wide receiver because he's the number one person on your board and you feel like he's a receiver that can actually help you and be part of this team, and you don't have as many needs as maybe you have in previous drafts, I totally get it. And I actually said that day, I said, if Xavier Worthy's there, I'm pretty sure they can probably do what they can to take him if they have the opportunity. I said that morning. And so, there's one guy that you might identify. You're not going to go draft the other Texas receiver that was in the draft or some other receiver that you don't really need or want, even that would be toward the top of your board, just to get a receiver because Rashee Rice isn't here. Right. I think there was that. I still contest, and I think a lot of people contend, that there was that reaction when McCole Hardman was drafted.
Oh, yeah.
The Tyreek Hill audio had come out, and everybody was freaking out then, and that was a reactionary move to what had happened with Tyreek Hill right before the draft.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a panic move a little bit by Brad Veach.
I don't feel at all, even a little bit, that's what this was for the Chiefs this year. They were drafting Xavier Worthy because they wanted a weapon, and they could afford to go get a weapon because they didn't have as many needs as maybe they did in the past.
And the wide receiver room wasn't very good last year.
And if you can improve that position and that it actually is something that has been labeled as a need by people going into the draft, then you kill two birds with one stone there. But I'm in total agreement with you on that part of it, of right, wrong, whatever Rashee Rice did. If he's on the team, if he's not, the Chiefs are still going to win a lot of games. They're still going to be Super Bowl contenders, no matter what happens with Rashee Rice. And so, but that's what fans do, right? They're going to get fanatic. They're going to go. That's why we talk about it. I mean, that's why it's a story, because we know that fans are interested in it, and some of them are going to take it way too far. Some of them are going to be like, whatever. They're not really even going to react a whole lot to it because they, like us, know that this team is fine.
It's May 8th.
Yeah, and there's still things that can be done if, in fact, he does. If he does or doesn't, whichever way that goes. But if he does get charged with this and then get convicted of something else and that's added on, probably more games on a suspension that might happen. Or maybe at that point the Chiefs are like, you're being a problem right now. And maybe they cut bait. Who knows how that would all work. But we're not at that point yet. And so the freak out doesn't need to be there yet. It doesn't need to be there at all, because this is not Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes. This is Rashee Rice, who's played in this league for 1 year. And you adjust. You have to do it all the time, whether it's Kareem Hunt legal issues or whether it's trading Tyreek Hill. You figure out how to make it work when that player's not there anymore. It's just what it is. I'm not on a freak out mode at all.
This was as of 5 days ago. Best remaining wide receiver free agents. Tyler Boyd, Michael Thomas, Hunter Renfrow, Zay Jones, 2 former Chiefs, McCole Hardman, Valdez-Scantling, Corey Davis, Julio Jones, Russell Gage, Allen Robinson, Scotty Miller, Randall Cobb, Sterling Shepard, Richie James, Chief as well. What I'm trying to tell you is there's some guys out there that they could go get. I'm telling you, Hunter Renfrow I think would be a good fit. But there's still some guys the Chiefs could, pivot if they had to. Now, if they all come off the board pretty quick, then of course they don't have as many options. But once again, the Chiefs know their team better than we do. They may feel like Justin Ross is going to take the next step. They may feel like Kadarius Toney is going to take the next step. They may think that Sky Moore is going to elevate his game. And Hollywood Brown, having him on the field is going to give more opportunities for Sky Moore. Maybe he'll flourish because you've got Brown and Kelsey to worry about. And Xavier Worthy, you can stretch the field. Next thing you know, Sky Moore is a 4th option, but he's a really solid 4th option. The Chiefs are way smarter than all of us are. They already, I guarantee they have a contingency plan. Trust me, they're not pleased with Rashee Rice getting into trouble now twice, whether it was his fault or not the second time. Trust me, they don't appreciate any of this. But it is the nature of the beast of professional sports. Okay, it's not a lot different. I know you may say it's different, but my analogy is a coach is like being a dad or a parent, or being a mom or a dad. A coach is like being a parent. Like Andy Reid's 68 years old, whatever he is. Okay, he's got a whole bunch of people that are much younger than him. Just like when you have your kids, right? You're in your 20s, your 30s, and you're raising babies and young people. And you're going to pull your hair out sometimes with things that they do. And sometimes your kids are going to make mistakes. And sometimes they're going to make mistakes that are bigger than other mistakes. And some could be really costly mistakes. Others could be smaller mistakes. That's what players are. They're not kids, but some of them are very young that are not fully matured. And Rashee Rice is only, I think, 22 or 23. I'm not saying he's not a man, but, everybody matures in a different way. He's made some bad decisions. Travis Kelce made some bad decisions early in his career. All right. In college, he made some big decisions, got kicked off the damn team. Okay. He's recovered from it and been fine. Mm-hmm. Okay. So sometimes people mature at a different level. And I see some Chiefs fans, here's the overreaction freaking out as well. You talk about the freaking out in regards to people worried about him being on the team and hurting their chances to three-peat. There are some people that overreact in the opposite way, and that is cut him.
Get rid of him, yeah.
Okay. Exactly. And I remember a whole bunch of people saying about Tyreek Hill. Good thing we didn't listen to you. Because found out it wasn't all true, all that allegation stuff. Yeah. Because, we actually let it play out. He still was a Chief, and then the Chiefs traded him eventually and got a whole bunch of picks and cap flexibility. And Tyreek Hill has had a pretty doggone good career since that all broke, that story. I remember one person in particular in Beloit was like absolutely wanting to cut him and get rid of him. I said, for nothing? You don't think there'll be another NFL team that's going to grab him in a heartbeat and take a chance? Because the Chiefs took a chance on him when they drafted in the 5th round. We'll cut Rashee Rice. You don't think there's going to be 15 teams at least not going, boom, calling Rashee Rice his agent? I guarantee you there will be.
Yeah.
So you don't just cut somebody and overreact. You definitely got to let the process play out. The Chiefs got rid of Kareem Hunt because they had video and they had all kinds of evidence to back up what he had done, plus there were red flags prior. Okay? And maybe the Chiefs will get fed up with Rashee Rice and cut him. I doubt it, but who knows? If he keeps going down a path and gets in trouble all the time, maybe they'll have no choice and they will. But now's not the time to cut him, and it's also not the time to say the Chiefs can't three-peat on May the 8th because Rashee Rice may miss some games.
May 8th is not overreaction day.
It isn't. I thought it was, darn it. Coming up in 30 seconds, turn our attention to NBA and NHL playoffs.
Extended warranties on vehicles have become a very popular thing. You may have bought one, but what do you do to take advantage of the benefits when you need them? Kiever Brothers Automotive in Beloit works with most all warranty contracts, and we can be your advocate when you need repairs. Just bring us your car, your concerns, and a copy of the warranty contract, and we take care of the rest. Let our fast, friendly service help you get the most out of your extended warranty contract. Find Kiever Brothers Automotive just south of the courthouse in Beloit or on the web at KieverBrothers.com.
77-69, Thunder. Gilgeous-Alexander, got a three! Final seconds. Oklahoma City wins game 1. Thunder up in the series.
Well, the Thunder won 5 straight to start the postseason. They win easily last night, 117-95 over the Mavericks to take Game 1 of that second-round series. Thunder outscored Dallas by 21 points in the second and fourth quarters to create their separation. SGA had 29 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. Chet Holmgren, 19 points. Luka Doncic, he has a knee injury. He's not even close to 100%. You can see it. He's laboring. He was just 6 of 19 for 19 points. Struggled from 3, and that was the first time Luka Doncic scored less than 20 points in his last 25 playoff games. Of course, he led the NBA in scoring this year and could end up being the NBA MVP. Head coach Jason Kidd of the Mavericks is 0-5 in Game 1s with the Mavericks. He's never won a Game 1. So the Mavericks are where they're used to being, down 0-1.
That's wild.
In the East, the Celtics rolled to a 120-95 win over the Cavs. In Game 1, Jaylen Brown led Boston with 32 points on 12 of 18 shooting. There's just one game on the schedule tonight in NBA as the Knicks host the Pacers. Game 2 of the East semis, leading 1-0. Tip-off 7 o'clock on TNT. Listen, if Luka's not 100%, I don't see the Mavs winning the series. I picked the Thunder in 6. You picked the Thunder in 7. The Celtics, I had rolling the Cavs. I think it's a bad matchup for the Cavs.
Yeah.
And Mitchell's not 100%. I was thinking Celtics in 5. I don't know. That might end up being a sweep. That was like too easy last night.
I would say 5 just to be nice to Cleveland, but you could definitely see it being a sweep.
Yeah. And so the Knicks-Pacers tonight, and Pacers, people have pointed out that the NBA doesn't want the Pacers and the Celtics. They want the Knicks and the Celtics, so they're going to rig it. And there was a few calls that went against the Pacers the other night. Listen, I'm not going to get into this gigantic conspiracy theory with people, but once again, I've referenced this many times, and I'll reference it once again. Go watch the docu-series. It was on Netflix. I forgot the name of it, but the Tim Donaghy thing. Yeah. Go watch it. Go watch it. You don't think that the officials aren't told by the NBA to take it a little easy on this guy, or we want this guy in the next round, or we want a Game 7. So, you know what? Sports, maybe they are rigged at least slightly, because officials can have a huge, gigantic impact on a game, especially when the games are so close typically at that level. They can have such a huge impact in one call, just swallowing their whistle and not making the call, that can change the game. Or make a call that ain't even real and can change the game. Officials have a lot of power by blowing the whistle once or not blowing it once. And sometimes it's just, they missed the call. It happens. But there are people that do, buy into that a little bit. And I do after watching the Tim Donaghy thing. I remember him talking about, they're like, hey, watch Iverson. We're making his life a living hell. He's going to call a carry every time on him because he barks at us. Or there was times they talked about how the NBA made it clear that, hey, we, Tim Donaghy said stars get calls. He admitted it. Michael Jordan got calls. I mean, David Stern one time talked to him about various games, and of course Stern, denies all of it because Tim Donaghy was rogue and no other official was involved, which is a bunch of horse, what. But once again, everything comes back down to the almighty dollar and money. And you don't think the TV partners want the Knicks Celtics instead of the Pacers Celtics? Of course they do.
Absolutely. There's TV partners that want like I talked the other day, probably Denver, Dallas too, right? It's not as big of a scale as Boston, New York would be, obviously.
That's the thing, though. Minnesota's beating Denver so much, and OKC won by so much, you can't fix those.
Yeah, exactly.
But a close series, like the Pacers-Knicks Game 1, you can fix it if you want to.
And obviously Boston's a heavy favorite, so that they're fine with that. That works perfectly for them. And so, Boston, New York would be definitely something that they would want. I mean, everybody wants that.
Right.
Baseball is obviously the biggest proof that everybody wants Boston, New York, right? And so, or TV execs, people that are making money, want Boston, New York. We don't always want that as fans, obviously.
No. Well, obviously, Pacers fans certainly don't either. But it's about the money. The T-Wolves center Rudy Gobert was named Defensive Player of the Year, and he and his partner have a baby. He missed the game the other night, and they won by a ton. Who needs the Defensive Player of the Year, right? Gobert tied the NBA record with his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award, joining Hall of Fame centers Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace as the only other players that won the award 4 times in a career. He got 72 of the 99 first place votes. All right, the NHL, a couple overtime thrillers last night.
Kreider wound up with it. Panarin's shot blocked by Slavin. Follow-up is free. They score! Vincent Trocheck wins it in overtime for New York.
Robertson trying to work it out for Johnston. Big hit there in behind, and Cagliano zooms it ahead. Wood with speed. Wood drives in. Backhand. Score! Miles Wood!
Dude, I'm telling you, I so badly want to go to an NHL playoff game. I saw NHL in person, and I really enjoyed it. It was cheaper than some of the other professional sports. There's a lot more action. It's continuous for the most part. Yeah, there's stops, and face-offs, and you have intermission between the periods. I get all that. But, man, those games last night were insane. The Rangers win in 2 overtimes, 4-3 over the Hurricanes. They're up 2-0 in their series. The Avs came back and won 4-3 in overtime to beat the Stars. They're up 1-0. Tonight, the Bruins are up 1-0, and they're at the Panthers game 2 in the East at 6:30. In the West, the Canucks and Oilers at 9 o'clock in Vancouver. That's game 1 of that series. But just listening to those calls give me goosebumps.
Yeah, that's the exciting part of hockey for sure, and any sport that can end in sudden death like that. It was fun in football when there was touchdowns, right, when that was a thing with sudden death.
Yeah.
But field goals were lame.
Right.
It's like, come on, man. But a goal like that, and especially like this, one of them, you could the highlight. I mean, you could see the shot missed and it fell in the guy's lap, and the goalie just wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. And it's just those kind of things are just overhyped and exciting. Just being able to see that happen, and then just the shock, and then the quick defeat, how fast it ends, it's one of the best things in sports.
Yes, absolutely. Sudden death is always good. Overtime,
as long as you've made it to the point where it deserves to be sudden death, it's one of the best things in sports.
I agree with you. By the way, a couple notes on the Royals here. Really, one main note: Salvi Perez is not in the lineup today, which it's we talk about this again. Final game of the series.
Yeah.
Getaway day for the Royals as they close out their homestand. So, but it's funny to see the first 2 comments on this one. So the lineup's put out there, no Salvi today. Skeeter says, they know this is for the series, right? Yeah, because the Royals are all about playing all their best players to win the 3rd game of a 3-game series in May. Skeeter, I don't think you know much about baseball, my friend.
This is not a playoff series, buddy.
Does Skeeter know that it isn't postseason? Does he know it's baseball? Alex says automatic loss. Yes. Salvi and the Royals. When Salvi does not play, the Royals have never won. Before Salvi even was a Royal, the Royals never won a game in franchise history until Salvi was on the team. Did you know that? It's an automatic loss because Salvi's not playing. No Sal on getaway day. Royals do play tomorrow night, Anaheim. Once again, you could argue, as you and I have talked about this before, you got your home fans on a Sunday afternoon paying good money to see you at home. Couldn't Salvi take tomorrow night off and play today? Now, it is an afternoon after a night game. I'm not going to get all riled up and too upset about this situation.
Midweek game,
it is a midweek game.
There.
Yeah. But last year they rested Bobby Witt Jr. on a Sunday when we were there, which was ridiculous when he's 22 years of age. And if he needs an off day, make it the very next night when he was in Arizona, instead of punishing your home fans not seeing this great player. But today, once again, he'll be on the road playing tomorrow night so the Angel fans can watch him. But today, people that paid money to watch the Royals the one time all year long on a Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon will not get to see Salvador Perez. So, yeah. I mean, I still, if we're going to be consistent with our argument, it would apply here too a little bit. I think the difference would be not as many fans, but you know what? If you're one of those fewer fans that the only time you're going to see the Royals this year, you travel 4 hours to watch them, and your favorite player is Salvi, it's no different than load management with the NBA.
Yeah, it is. I'm processing in my mind as you're talking.
And they announced that now. And if you're a long way away, you've already got your tickets.
Yeah. I'm processing that as you're talking, and I'm like, well, Bobby Witt Jr. is definitely. As you were talking, I'm going to end this in a different way, but as you're talking, it's like Bobby Witt Jr. is a young guy, and some like you and I 2 years ago when they did that had not had a chance to even see him play in the pros yet with the Royals.
Right.
Now I saw him play with Northwest Arkansas,
right?
But I had not seen him in a Royals uniform yet, so I was looking forward to it. And then we see he's not in the lineup. But I'm like, he's a young guy. I really want to see him in the lineup because I've never seen him before. And my thought process is Salvi's been here for forever. If you haven't had a chance to see him yet, then that's I want to say that's on you, right? Like you've had the opportunity to see Salvi, you hadn't with Bobby Witt Jr. But then I'm thinking of Cindy, right, who went to her first game on Sunday with us, and I could tell sitting next to her that she was excited to see Salvi play.
Yeah.
And that was the first time she'd been to a Royals game. So for those people that it might be, hey, midweek, I've got a vacation time or something like that, or we planned a trip to Kansas City, we're going to go see Salvi play, and you don't get to see him play.
Right.
If this is your first time ever at a game, then that's I've kind of knocked the thing out of my brain where Salvi's been here for forever. You've had opportunities to see him play.
But not everybody has.
Exactly.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of Cindy, she texted, we have to remember that Rashee Rice also plays for the NFL, and he is setting an example for the younger players that are growing up inspired by this young pro. It is harder for them to understand that in their 20s. Yeah, they don't understand that. I think a lot of sports athletes, now I think they have to be in their 20s. I think there's veterans that don't get that.
Charles
either.
Barkley didn't want to be that.
I mean, he said, we're not a role model.
We're not role models. Right?
And he said we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree with him.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with him.
So there's some of them that don't understand it, and then there's some of them that say it shouldn't be a thing and don't really care about that part of it.
They don't even care.
Yeah.
Yeah. But whether they like it or not, they are.
Yeah, you are. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is.
Right. Okay, if you want to find out one of the silliest people in all of sports that covers sports, may I represent Exhibit A, Mike Florio, who I think is just a complete dunce. So anyway, NBC Sports, he apparently is on some show with Chris Sims. They ranked the NFL top rivalries going into 2024. Now listen to these. Mike Florio, Bills Chiefs, the number one rivalry in NFL. Disagree. Number 2, Packers Lions. Well, at least we're getting a little closer with like history. The number 3 rivalry he's got is Chiefs Chargers. The Chiefs Chiefs Chargers is the worst. The Chiefs Chargers is the worst rivalry of all in the division. The Chiefs Raiders and the Chiefs Broncos are both light years ahead of the Chargers.
Then if you rotate Broncos, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers, they're both ahead of Chiefs, Chargers.
Mike Fleury's an idiot. And by the way, as Matt puts out here, the Chiefs are 17-3 in their last 20 games against the Chargers. Rivalry? Well, I don't even care if you beat the Raiders 20 times in a row. The Raiders are your rival. They're your biggest rival. Rivalries are about hatred. The Chiefs and Chargers don't hate each other. You know why the Chiefs don't hate the Chargers? They beat them all the time. Okay? The Raiders and the Chiefs go way back. First of all, he's got the Chiefs 2 of the 3, and the Bills, they don't even they play once a year if they're lucky. That's not a rivalry. It has to be a division thing to be a rivalry, in my opinion. So Packers Lions, okay, Florio, you're at least getting a little bit warmer. Chris Sims, Chiefs Bengals, number 1 rivalry. What are we talking about? Are we talking about right now? Those are the hottest games that people watch. Chiefs Niners. Okay, they met in the Super Bowl twice. Niners and Eagles. They've met in the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years, or last 2 years, whatever it is. So you play in the playoffs a couple years in a row, and now you're big-time rivals. What are we talking about? Listen, the number 1 rivalry in the NFL could be an assortment of them, but the ones they just presented aren't even close. Okay, Chiefs, Raiders would be right there, okay? Chiefs Broncos would be there. The Steelers Ravens would definitely be there. The Cowboys and the formerly Redskins, who are now Commanders, would be well above any of this, okay? The Bears and the Packers would be above the Lions and the Packers, okay? The Niners and Seahawks, even though that's not a long rivalry, but that's at least their close. There's a bit of some mean things between those two. I could go on and on. And Eagles Cowboys is way better than Eagles Niners. Giants Cowboys. I mean, these are silly.
The Redskins
the ones they have here,
wearing white, so the Cowboys couldn't. Redskins Cowboys is one of the greatest rivalries in NFL history, really.
Absolutely.
Commanders now, I guess.
So you're talking best rivalries. Could somebody put on the graphic what the criteria was? If you're talking about best rivalries in regards to the last 2 or 3 years, okay, maybe, although the Packers-Lions wouldn't even fit that either, and neither would the Chargers-Chiefs. The Chiefs-Bills, I will listen to. If you're talking about the last few years, yeah, there have been some epic battles. Okay, I'll listen to that one. You want me to tell me Chiefs-Bengals? I'll listen to that a little bit. But after that, I don't think so. And here's the crazy thing to me is none of these are divisional battles except for the Chargers-Chiefs, and that's the least rivalry of all of them in that division. And then the Lions-Packers, even the best rivalry in that division, that's the Bears and Packers.
Yeah, I look at that list and it's like I understand what they're doing here. They don't understand the term rivalry.
No,
obviously
they're using the wrong word.
But I understand what they're doing with most of these, like the Chiefs, Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, 49ers, Chiefs, 49ers, Eagles. They've seen each other in the playoffs. They're always at the top of their conferences, right? They're fighting and playing, right? The Bengals created the rivalry on their side with all the comments that they said that that's not even part of that. The Chiefs aren't part of that. Bengals are mad at the Chiefs because they win games against the Chiefs, but they don't win games that count.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you've not won an actual Super Bowl yet, but keep chirping over there. But the one that just, either way, whether it's rivalry or if it's because they play in the playoffs all the time, is Chiefs-Chargers makes zero sense to be on that list at all. Like you can make an argument as to why they put the list together like they did on all the other ones. But the Chiefs-Chargers is like, what are we doing here? Well, like, that doesn't even make any sense. The Chargers can't even make the playoffs.
The Lions finally had one good year, and suddenly they're their Packers' biggest rival. What are you talking about? Oh, God, Florio. So, anyway, just so glad I saw that one on my Twitter feed. Coming up in 30 seconds, we will tell you about K-State in Focus, and we'll close the show with a new revolutionary, one-of-a-kind idea for men's college basketball. It's time for K-State in Focus. Our focus on Kansas State athletics, brought to you by Heineken Electric in Beloit and by Hanson Auction Realty in Beloit. All right, K-State in Focus. The K-State baseball team just completed a 3-game set against the KU Jayhawks Sunflower Showdown. That was at Toynton Family Stadium in Manhattan, and 3 really good games. K-State won Game 1. KU won Game 2 4-0. K-State won the final game 4-2. And so K-State baseball team 28-19 overall, 12-12 in conference play, 18-6 at home, just 8-12 on the road. But they do take 2 out of 3 against Kansas. And so next up for the K-State baseball team, a series with West Virginia on the road in Morgantown, a 3-game set this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then they have a game against South Dakota State. Then they'll be at home for BYU for a 3-game set before the Big 12 Championship Tournament, which takes place in Arlington, May 21st through the 25th. K-State in Focus, brought to you each and every week by Heineken Electric in Beloit and by Hanson Auction Realty in Beloit. We close the show with this. And the ticket brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Kiefer Brothers Automotive in Beloit, your home for fast, friendly auto repair. We've talked about how college sports has changed. Listen to this. A one-of-a-kind, revolutionary, regular season men's basketball event to be staged later this year in Las Vegas is expected to be finalized in the coming weeks. Its selling point is based on the major factor that has drastically altered college sports over the past 3 years: name, image, and likeness compensation for players, or NIL. Games will be played in November under the umbrella of an event dubbed the Players Era Festival, which will also include live music and other attractions for fans amid the glitz of the Las Vegas Strip during Thanksgiving week. In a college sports first, the event will also include $1 million NIL payouts for 8 participating schools. What's more, players involved will have future earnings opportunities through long-term NIL contracts. Alabama, Houston, Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, San Diego State, and Texas A&M are all on board. The 8th and final school for the event will emerge from a small group that is still being deliberated. The Players Era Festival is not being pitched as a one-year happening. They expect to do it every year. Plans are to double the size of the field in the future to 16 teams as a target for 2025 and beyond. Duke, Gonzaga, Kansas, Michigan, Syracuse, and Virginia have all engaged in discussions about potentially playing in this event 2 years from now in 2025, or next college basketball season, not the upcoming one, but the one after that. You know, I've talked about gambling a lot on this show, and I'm not against gambling. I'm just not one that gets into it too much. And I've said that the Pandora's box has been opened, and you'll never put the genie back in the bottle. This is just another extension of what I'm talking about. Had we brought up this idea 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, this thing wouldn't even get off the ground.
No.
It would immediately be like, we can't have college athletes on Las Vegas Strip, and we can't have them anywhere near gambling. Now, we got all these schools that can't wait to play in it because now we got NIL. So now apparently you make money with NIL and then you can gamble it away. What a cool thing. Now, I'm not saying that that's what the players do. They're going to play in this is go to the casinos and push their money down the slot machine and flush it down the toilet. But the whole thing that the NFL said it too, and now the NFL has all kinds of events in Vegas, and they got a team in Vegas, and there's baseball fought it for years not to have a team in Vegas. But all of a sudden, once whoever was the first to do it, which I thought maybe the NFL was the first to tie into allowing something in Vegas, but I could be wrong. But once it took one entity to just open the door to have something in Vegas. It took one entity, one professional sports league. It took one entity. And now everybody's almost like, well, we would have done it. We just didn't want to be the first. Now we're all like, all about Vegas. Let's go to Vegas. Let's have the Super Bowl in Vegas. Let's have the Pro Bowl in Vegas. Let's go ahead and have the NBA All-Star games in Vegas. Let's go ahead and have a baseball. Let's have the A's move to Vegas and play baseball. Let's go ahead and have a college basketball tournament in Vegas on the Strip. This was unheard of. In fact, it was almost taboo to ever bring up anything tied to Vegas or gambling, because why at the time? Integrity of the game.
Exactly.
And now these institutions, college athletics, professional sports leagues, and teams, they have all sold their soul to the devil. They have all sold their soul to the devil. And there will be consequences. And as I've talked about many times, we've already seen some of it. It's only going to get worse. Mark my words. I guarantee it. But this, to me, I'm not saying I don't like the idea. That's kind of cool. Something different and fun. But it's just amazing to me in a short period of time, we've gone from, oh, no, you can't possibly bring up Vegas. Oh, there's no way. Dude, don't even present that idea at the board meeting, because there's no way in hell nobody's going to let anything happen in Vegas. To, let's legalize sports betting. Okay. All right. Free for all. Everybody in. That's what's happened.
Yeah, and it was the NHL, by the way.
Were they the first ones?
I mean,
with
the Vegas Golden Knights, and I was like, I'm looking up the history of the Golden Knights, because they're the first actual full-time attraction, right?
Yeah.
And I looked up kind of the history and background on the Wikipedia, and you can't always believe everything, but the Wikipedia says there's been an NHL presence in Vegas since like 1991. They had their first outdoor games between two NHL teams in Las Vegas in 1991. And so, somebody went in there and did that. And then they were the first ones that actually said, hey, we're going to award you a team. You're going to be in the Big Four anyway. You're going to have a team here in Vegas. And I really think just all the things that were tied into that really did give the NFL the opportunity to get in there and start doing some things. And then the Raiders moved to Vegas, and then now it blows up because everything's there. You've had a Super Bowl there now, and it's easy just to do whatever the hell you want in Vegas.
Right.
It's like, this is what we're doing. We're going to do it.
Well, the other part of it, going back to 1991, those exhibition games that obviously had no impact on it because nothing happened. Yeah. But as you said, that might have planted the seed for then Vegas to eventually have a hockey team, from the standpoint that, hey, we saw that hockey could do okay with the exhibition game many years ago, and we had an occasional exhibition game there. Now we think we can have a team that will be supported, and that opened the idea to having a team in Vegas. Eventually,
and it got supported too.
Like,
man, they were excited about it.
It did, but Vegas is a lot of transplants. These are not people that are all time grew up in my whole life being a Vegas fan. Well, you had no teams to cheer for, so there are a lot of bandwagon fans or new fans or people that jump from other fan bases or becoming fans. Maybe people that live in Vegas now, that they'll grow up with some kind of sports team. But yes, you mentioned the NHL being the first to have a team in Vegas, it sounds like. But what really sped up this process, was when more and more states legalized sports betting.
Oh, for sure.
That's what really took it. That's what took it to a whole nother level. Once Kansas has even done it, Missouri's petitioning to do it. I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before every single state in the country is going to have legalized sports betting, because there's too much money to be had. And as we talked about before, state of Kansas has got a fund put aside to pull professional sports teams to Kansas because of legalized sports betting. It was one of the biggest reasons why they approved the whole dang thing, because there was a fight against it. Oh, well, no, we want to do that to Kansas. Well, what if we can get the Chiefs and Royals to come here? Oh, well, okay, let's do it. 80 cents of every dollar goes into a fund or a bond or whatever you want to call it to try to attract the Chiefs and the Royals. Now, what I've read is there's over $1 billion in that account already. Now, somebody tried to tell me the other day it's $2 billion. I don't know. There's a lot of money there is the point. And it's all because of legalized sports betting.
Yeah.
And 80 cents every dollar that you spend legalized sports betting in Kansas goes to that fund to help draw the Chiefs or the Royals to Kansas. And I've said this before, but if you're new to the program, the funny, hilarious thing, and the Chiefs got, or the state of Kansas got to be laughing all the way to the bank, especially if they do get to draw the Chiefs and the Royals or one of them to Kansas, out by the Speedway or whatever, is that Missourians can't legally sports bet in Missouri. So if they have to gamble and they have this gambling addiction or they have this itch to gamble so damn bad and they want to do it in a legal manner, they have to come to Kansas to do it, or they got to travel a lot further away to another state. Kansas would be the easiest. So when they come over here, and if they complain about, what's funny is, if they complain about Missouri losing their teams, what's funny is you're contributing to it, and a lot of these people don't even know that every time they spend $1 at the casino in Kansas City, Kansas, Hollywood Casino, every time they and not in the slot machine, that's not right. The sports betting, every time they bet $1 on sports, okay, sports betting. It's not the slot machines or roulette tables. Let me correct myself. We're talking sports betting, but you can do it there, or just come in the state of Kansas and you can do it on these apps and everything else. You legalize sports betting in Kansas. 80 cents of every dollar goes to help take away your teams from Missouri to Kansas, you Missourians. But please tell me how smart you are. And I'm not saying you're not smart. I'm just saying you may be uneducated as to what's happening here. So now you got to make a decision. I really like to gamble on sports. You're part of the problem to pull people away and pull these teams to Kansas. Now, some Missourians will tell you, I don't care if they're Missouri or Kansas. They're still close enough. I'll go. It don't matter to me. And for me, they're in Missouri right now. I don't care. I'll go to Missouri, spend my money in Missouri, and go to a game like we did the other day. But I certainly wouldn't have any problem if it moved to the Kansas side and be closer. But I think a lot of Missourians will be the same way. It's like, well, it sucks we don't have them in Missouri, but you know what? Now I don't have to pay as higher taxes on some kind of initiative, and now I can go over and what's funny is as soon as the Royals or the Chiefs would come to Kansas, if that would happen, it'd be so funny that right then and there they legalized sports betting in Missouri. That would crack me up. That would be funny. But I think Kansas has been a pretty shrewd play that what they've done here with this whole idea.
Sure. And
at least puts them as a player in the whole situation.
Yeah, and like you said, eventually you feel like it's probably going to be in all 50 states, but you know, states are trying to figure out a way to get it going because they know that they can make money off of it. So for Kansas, it was forever. I mean, they were talking about this for forever, and the legislature kept kicking the can down the road, and then they introduced hey, maybe we can get the Royals and Chiefs.
Well, boom.
Changed everything. Changed that vote real fast and legalized sports betting in Kansas pretty dang quick.
Yes.
And so if you have a reason to do it and an incentive to do it that's added into what you already have, and you already have everything put in place, basically, it's just when are we going to actually approve it? When are we actually going to vote for it? Because it was probably 2 years that process went, and you knew it was going to happen in Kansas. And then, boom, this comes in, you move forward with it, you've got this set up, and yeah, you're exactly right. Like, everything that you put, every bet you place on an app on your phone has to go through one of the Kansas sports books. You know, the FanDuel that I use goes through Kansas Star down in Mulvane, right? And you know, DraftKings is through Dodge City, Boot Hill, and that all that's funded and distributed by those sports books in the actual casinos, and so it's all tied together, and it all goes in the same spot to help Missouri get rid of the Chiefs and Royals.
I have a quick question. So if I am a major gambler, okay, and whether I'm from Missouri and I go to Kansas or I'm a Kansan, but if I'm a rich person and I shell out a lot of money and I lose a lot of money, does that make me a minority owner of the Royals when they come to Kansas?
Yeah, you hope.
Charles Barkley claims
what can I get out of that?
Him and Phil Mickelson would be minority owners if they gambled in Kansas. They lose a lot.
Does your vehicle have a leak, squeak, or rattle? Is there an annoying warning light shining at you from the dash? I'm Elijah at Kiever Brothers Automotive in Beloit. If you have an automotive issue, don't just live with it because you're afraid of what it might cost to get it fixed. We offer a 15-minute no-wrench inspection for free, so you can get a professional opinion about your problem without spending a dime. Call or stop by today. We're happy to take a look at almost anything for free. That's Kiever Brothers Automotive just south of the courthouse in Beloit and online at KieverBrothers.com.
State, regional, and national sports talk on your schedule. The Sports Ticket Podcast. Subscribe via Apple, Google, and TuneIn Podcasts or SunflowerStateRadio.com.